Hey guys, so you ready for today's June 18, 2026, 10:57 p.m. Central Time. Trump got in over his head. Period. End of story. MOU agreement. Memorandum of Understanding. First of all, I'm going to go over it word for word. I'm going to show it to you because those of you who think this is a good idea has somehow rationalized in your brain, hey, this is a good start. Hey, we need to start somewhere. Hey, whatever the fuck, blah, 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 blah. You obviously have not read the actual agreement and don't know the history of Iran either, but that's beside the point. Trump got in over his head in this situation, period. End of story, I say again. If you listen to Trump talk about this situation, he's over it. He is so fucking over it. He doesn't want to deal with it. He thought this would take very long. He thought his pressure campaign would work. He thought he knew Iran. He thought he knew the region. He thought he knew the allies we have. He thought he understood Israel. Israel probably got us shoved into this faster than he wanted to go. I mean, Trump is arrogant, and everybody knows that. He's 100% arrogant. I mean, he's a narcissist. He believes he knows everything. Art of the deal. First of all, the Middle East is not art of the deal. It never fucking will be. Especially countries that have, extreme religious ideologies that are not only against the West, against America, everything, but are willing to blow themselves up, okay, and take their own lives and take their wives' lives and their children's lives and everybody around them's lives to make a point, okay? You can't rationalize with those people. And Iran in particular has a very specific ideology, religious ideology, that is to the extreme. Not necessarily the Iranian people, not all of them anyway, but the leadership, IRGC, president, their entire government that's left, it doesn't really matter who it is, they all have the same ideology, whether they're extreme or not. So, no, Trump got in over his head. End of story. He's like so done with this. He doesn't want to deal with it. He wants the gas prices to go down. That's what he keeps touting. He wants to win the midterms. It is getting closer and closer. He's trying to get this in the back of people's heads and minds so they forget about it. You know, my brothers and sisters died over this. We have so many military assets in the area. We have spent billions of dollars bombing these people who are supposedly, their military is ridiculously degraded. They can't do anything, yet they're striking their neighbors still. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount of propaganda that comes out of everyone, whether it be Iran, the Middle East, Israel, United States, Europe, who cares? It's so overblown in so many different directions that you kind of have a hard time figuring out what's true. And the fact that we don't have troops on the ground, period, end of story. We don't have troops on the ground. We know this. You can only see so much stuff over satellite. So you truly don't know what they have and what they don't have underground in these specific areas where they hold all of their drones, ballistic missiles, uranium, centrifuges, and everything else. And supposedly we did this because of a nuclear bomb, okay? But wow, does this agreement suck? So let's move on to it. For those of you who agree with this will be very interesting if your opinion changes. Memorandum of Understanding between the United States of America, let's blow this up, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. United States of America and Republic of Iran, I'm just going to say Iran and U.S., have jointly agreed to good faith and such a date on the following. 1. The United States of America and Iran and their allies in the current war, signing the MOU, declare immediate permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from threat or use of force against each other, and ensure territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, and other provisions in this paragraph. First of all, it mentions Lebanon 3 times in this agreement. Why? Because Iran hates Israel, and Israel's actually the one that is bombing Lebanon. I should say they're bombing Hezbollah, because Hezbollah's bombing Israel. And if you don't like that fact, then you can go suck it. Because if someone's bombing us, you better damn well sure believe we better be bombing them back. So, and Israel's taking out targets and doing all kinds of stuff. The leadership of Lebanon met Netanyahu at the White House, and they agreed to a peace agreement. In other words, they have made an understanding between them that Israel's not going after Lebanon, they're going after Hezbollah. And Lebanon made an agreement that they're going to try their best to control Hezbollah. Good luck with that. You guys haven't been able to do that forever. This has been going on. This war between Israel and Hezbollah and Lebanon have been going on far, far, far before this Iran war started with the US. So to keep Israel out of this pact and expect them to not take action against a group that happens to be in a country, Lebanon, and they're not supposed to respond is the most ignorant, stupid, unintelligent, whatever you want to call it, thought process in the world. And yes, Lebanon is used 3 times in this paragraph. They want Israel to stop striking stuff. We are in Lebanon. We are in a lot of areas in the Middle East, but they're not talking about us. They're talking about our ally, Iran, and their allies. Well, when their ally, Hezbollah in Lebanon, stops bombing Israel, then we'll talk. Okay? That's how that works. Number 2. The U.S. and Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. Think about that for a second. That could mean so many different things, that basically America, United States, is not going to be doing any type of things behind the scene attempting to arm their citizens, back their people, internal affairs, back the people protesting. The Trump administration, once the internet goes back on and all these people in Iran start figuring out what happened and what's going on, and that America basically said, fuck you guys, forget it, we're not dealing with this anymore, and they get pissed off and they start rioting and protesting and all this stuff. If Trump administration says that he backs the people of Iran, that is interfering in their internal affairs, isn't it? So these things are very more detailed than you idiots think who believe in this. 3, the U.S. and Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. Speaking of which, memorandum of understanding. If you have to sign a document to agree to create another fucking document, you're retarded. Number 4, immediately upon signing this MOU, the U.S. will begin removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be proportion to the number of pre-war traffic being restored by Iran. The U.S. further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. But yet, if they violate it, apparently to Trump, we're going to strike them, right? Let's get out of the area first. Number 5. Upon the signing of this MOU, Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for safe passage of commercial vehicles with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and consider the need for removal of technical military obstacles and demining by Iran will be instated within 30 days. all those little mines they stuck in the water, I don't know if Iran actually has the technology to find those. I mean, we can, and there's other countries that can. I don't know if they can. And by the way, once you drop those suckers, I don't know how easy they are to pick up. Anyway, Iran will conduct dialogue with Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz in discussion with other Persian Gulf litatory states in line with the applicable international law and sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. So they're not going to charge anybody for 60 days only, as it says. They weren't charging anyone to begin with before this started. So all of a sudden, Iran has realized, hey, we can charge people for this shit. Why haven't we been doing this before? Boom. Now there's the waterway, the international waterway, as they call it, is now fucked. And people are, this is going to turn into the Panama Canal situation. Number 6, the U.S. undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive mutual agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as a part of the final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for relevant financial transactions will be granted by U.S. Now let's go back for a second. Mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion US. At least. Supposedly, we're not going to be giving them any money, right? That's not taxpayer money. Fine, whatever. You know whose money it is? The regional partners they've been bombing? Okay. It's going to be perhaps other countries around the world, like China, Russia, some of their North Korea, some of their allies can get into this. Private enterprises and businesses can get into this, apparently. That's what JD Vance said. So we have to scrap together a mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of Iran. That is the wording. That is the wording. It isn't, well, we're going to put $300 billion together. If it comes together or not, whatever. No, that's not the wording of number 6, guys. Sorry. 7, U.S. undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against Iran, including the United Nations Security Council resolutions, which, by the way, have to do with human rights, IAEA Board of Governors resolutions that have to do with their nuclear program in the past, and all unilateral U.S. sanctions, primarily and secondary, in an agreement upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran, I guess the makes sense. Iran and U.S. acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and express their intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. So in other words, they want the United States to get rid of all the sanctions, including United Nations Security Council resolutions, which, by the way, other countries signed onto. We are supposed to unilaterally terminate those Security Council resolutions that were put in by us and other countries. Same with the IAEA Board of Governors resolutions. How do we even have control over that? How do we have control over that? I don't know. I have no idea. Going to bribe someone in the UN? Number 8. Iran affirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. This is the best. U.S. and Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with a minimum methodology to be down-blended on site under the supervision of the IAEA. And we all know how well the IAEA did under the Obama administration. Down-blended. They're going to take the uranium that they have now at 60%, whatever the fuck percent, it doesn't even matter, down to a blended methodology, which we're talking 6 to 3%, which is used for nuclear plants. Okay, I think is the max is like 3% is needed. You're gonna downgrade that. I don't even know how that works, but you're gonna downgrade that stuff on site in Iran with the IAEA supervision. Okay. The two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutual agreed matters related to Iran's nuclear needs based on a satisfactory framework being agreed upon on the final deal. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph. The United States of America and Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issues mentioned above. They expressed their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. Boy, those last 3 sentences said the exact same thing in different ways. Number 9, pending the final deal, the U.S. and Iran agreed to maintain the status quo. Yes, the status quo. Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the U.S. will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy any additional forces in the region. So in other words, from the day that this was signed, which apparently was today by Trump electronically, okay, till the 60-day a 60-day negotiation situation, they signed something, or 90-day or 120-day or however long it takes for this next agreement to be signed, they can maintain the status quo of their nuclear program, what's left of it. And we're not allowed to put any sanctions on it. Okay. Number 10, the U.S. undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and under the termination of sanctions, U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. So in other words, the things we've had on them that the U.S. Treasury has not issued waivers for like 2 decades, that has to do with banking transactions and stuff. This is what Vance said today, and it was hilarious. Hilarious. This has to do with number 10. Exactly has to do with number 10. He said that allowing the Treasury to issue waivers and allowing to get into the banking transactions, into the real banking. They're not having to do shadow transactions. So we'll be able to see everything they're doing and where this oil's going and how much and where this money's going, blah, blah, blah. It's like, are you fucking stupid? These people have been dealing with this shadow banking forever. Why do you think they're going to get it? Why would you think they're going to do any type of normal banking transactions for every transaction they do? Dumb. Number 11. The U.S. undertakes to make fully available, and this Trump's explanation of this is priceless, fully available for the use of the U.S. undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or unrestricted funds and assets of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. So not even waiting till the final agreement. The U.S. and Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiation. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. Some of these frozen and unrestricted funds and stuff are actually sitting in Qatar, and however you want to say that country, and other places that they have slowly been dripping out some of these funds. Like they lifted some sanction, like it was sanctioned, and then some of the sanctions were lifted. So some of that money was going to Iran and supposedly we were able to oversee it or something. So now they want to take the funds, and that's just not Qatar either. It's like all over the fucking place. They want to take the funds out of Qatar's hands, we'll use that as an example, and put it in the Central Bank of Iran so that nobody can see anything. Nope. Sorry. Boom. We can do anything we want with it. Just give us our money back. And Trump's explanation of this was amusing. Well, I want to try and quote him, but I won't do a good job. Well, this is their money anyway. This is the money that we have frozen from Iran for years and decades, and this is their money anyway. So we're just giving them what is theirs. That's what he said. We are just giving them what is theirs. End of story. Number 12, almost done here. US and Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the further compliance of the final deal. Number 13, after signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of implementations of paragraph 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MOU and continuing implementations of these measures, the United States and Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. So 1, 4, 5, one has to do with Lebanon, basically. I mean, we're not going to hit Iran. Iran's not going to hit us. And it has to do with Israel hitting Lebanon, which is actually Hezbollah and a few other things, right? That's number 1. What was it? 1, 4, 5, 10, 11. So that's the first one, needs to be implemented. Good luck with that. Getting rid of the blockade. Safe passage for commercial vessels that have to do with the coastal strait. Stuff like that. Number 10, the termination of sanctions and Treasury, issuing waivers for all their crude oil and petroleum products. And number 11, which has to do with unfreezing their restricted funds and assets, which apparently to Trump is theirs anyway, quote unquote. Number 14, the deal will be endorsed by binding UNSC resolution, which is a United Nations Security Council resolution. Good luck. Boy, did Trump get in over his head. Did he fucking sell out? I don't know what or who thought this agreement was a good idea. I don't know or understand who was at the table of this. Vance, what Trump's son-in-law, with the Kushner, whoever else was at the table of this, they must have been like bitch slapped. They must have been bribed. I always say that to Democrats, Democrats always act as though Iran has something on them. They're always trying to bribe them or pay them off or something like that to keep the peace. Well, what is Trump doing? He's doing the exact same thing. So it's like, did Iran all of a sudden get something on Trump? It's fucking weird. It's like Trump went hardcore Democrat on this situation. You motherfuckers went all the way to the Middle East with all these ships, all this equipment, all these with all branches of military and our bases over there and stuff. We're using our military personnel that's there. We evacuated tons of our personnel, embassies and all that kind of stuff out of the area. We bombed the fuck out of this place with Israel's help, took out tons of their leadership. Earlier, what was it, last year? Yeah, it was last year. We bombed their nuclear facilities and apparently made it bunny dust of nuclear, material. And now it doesn't say anything about getting the bunny dust out of there, by the way, which is what Trump said he was going to want to do. We did all of this and we lost American lives. We did all of this for this agreement to create another agreement that is going to be signed as a UN Security Council agreement. Are you shitting me? This is the dumbest possible foreign policy debacle bullshit piece of shit I have ever seen and ever thought would ever come out of a Republican, period, administration, more or less Trump's. Trump fucking failed. He failed hard. And Fox and everybody in X, all these people on X, are pushing this deal and agreeing with this deal. And the RNC's agreeing with this deal. And even hawks like Lindsey Graham are dealing with this deal, agreeing with this deal. It's like, I think everybody's lost their fucking minds. I think everybody has lost their fucking minds. It's unbelievable. Fox is unwatchable, including the business network, which is what I like to watch in the morning. It is unwatchable to listen to some of these people talk and how this is a good move. This is a good start. This is a headed in the right direction. Are you people shitting me? You have to implement assigning waivers for their petroleum oil industry. Okay. You have to unfreeze their assets. You have to get Israel to stop defending itself. And you have to get rid of the naval blockade. And by the way, they're not going to charge anyone for 60 days, but hey, whatever. But you have to do all of those things before they're even willing to continue a conversation for this UNSC. Please, if you agree with this, explain why. I do not see the logic, intelligence, or anything else, rationality, that this is a good idea. What's the alternative good idea? I'd have to think about it. But it sure as hell isn't signing this. It isn't agreeing to this. Hell no. Hell no. You know, when you bomb a country, it's just like when we went into Afghanistan or in Iraq and stuff. When you go to win. You don't go to bomb half-assedly, which is what we've done many, many times. You go to win, you play to win, and you bomb to fuck. Everything you need to bomb. There aren't such things as possible targets. No, those targets are taken out. This was half-assed. This was never a good idea. Going after Iran was never a good idea in this sense. I've said over and over again, this was approached wrong. Whoever advised Trump behind the scenes to do this Iran war the way he did needs to not only be fired, but like put imprisonment and like killed or something, because this is going to have if we unfreeze funds and all this stuff and put it in the Iran central bank, this is going to be worse than had we not attacked them regarding terrorism and everything else internally here in the US, around the world, in the region, period. As far as their nuclear program being reset, okay, yeah, they're probably going to do that, downgrading their current material on site with the IAEA standing by. Okay. Fucking stupid. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.